alaikum everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of the Muslim Student Podcast. Today we're going to talk about like how you get into Islam and teach yourself Deen at a young age, like around sixth form, because a lot of people go through that. Like they don't always get into Deen from a young age. They don't. Uh, it's like they kind of have to discover it themselves. And we've got a perfect example here with us. Can you introduce yourself, bro?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm James, and I reverted to Islam at the age of either 18 or 19, but it was around my birthday, so
Oh
uh,
man,
probably like 19. I don't know,
when do
but
you start uni? Do you start uni around that age?
yeah, I started uni at 19, so
Okay.
I it was probably about a year ago that I reverted. But yeah, I just been thinking about it for a while, and just like probably I don't know, maybe 10, 10 months to a year before I reverted. So I was just like teaching myself about stuff, and even just looking at like Wikipedia and stuff for like definitions of whatever I want to know. Just yeah, just I don't
That's
know.
fine,
Just
bro. But like, what was it that started that interest in Islam?
I don't know. There was a lot of stuff, and I'm not gonna lie, I can't really remember what actually made me start researching about it and like you know getting into it. But I've I went to a school where it was you know there was a lot of Muslims, and
Okay. Well,
that
London,
kind of
right?
exposed me. Yeah, yeah, that kind of like exposed me from a young age. Like I would say, there was definitely less white people than like brown people, or yeah. But I was in a white
You
minority school.
scoot over to one side, bro. White
But
minority. Other way, other way.
yeah, there you go.
That's
Um, but yeah, that's kind of exposed me to Islam from a young age, like the age of 11, and just I could see how it was just very like a friendly and generous religion, and
yeah,
most Muslims in my school they're just safe, and I didn't think anything of it at the time. In it's just like whatever. But as I got older, it just kind of showed me that I don't know, it's an option, and
yeah.
what's stopping me in it. But a lot of
So
things just
did you
led me to the point where I
did you
started
learn
wanting.
about it from? You know, you said you were around a lot of Muslims around the age of 11. Did you start learning about it then, or did you start learning about it properly later on?
I started learning about it properly from the age of like 18, but this was about 2 years ago that I started learning about it. That I started looking up like concepts and Islamic culture, and
Okay,
you know
okay.
just like opinions on certain topics and whatever, and just
Yeah, yeah,
the way that works. And um, also, I think just the Arabic language in general interested me as well.
right. Yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah.
the way it's a completely different system, like completely different letters, and it just interested me. So I started learning a bit of Arabic as well, just a few words, and taught myself the different letters, and yeah.
So
So
you taught so like the basis of Arabic you taught yourself, or
yeah,
is that what you mean?
I taught my sorry myself the letters,
That's not
and
real, mashallah.
kind of how
A lot
to
of people struggle for like ages in the letters.
yeah. There's a few good resources on the interwebs that you can find
And so it's
if you
gone, drop them
if you.
down.
Oh no, I'm just saying on Google Images.
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
Let me let me see if I can find it. But yeah, there's I just looked at like tables and stuff, and there was this one table I remember, and it had the letter, and then it had kind of how to pronounce it. So with like um I don't know.
I think it's like the classical like table, and then you've got Alibata. Yeah, I get what you
Yeah, and then it had the pronunciation. So with like
mean.
raw, it would say how to like
Uh,
you
that
should
was
roll
clean,
R.
man. That was clean, mashallah. I get
where it
what.
said like how to like roll your R's, and like yeah.
That's mad, man. What about like, uh, did you go into like the logical arguments and all that, or did you? Because for me, like, obviously I was born Muslim, but when I started learning about it, I focused more on like the sociology aspect of it. So like learning about parenthood, uh, how you meant to treat others, how society's meant to work together, but not so much on like the philosophical arguments of like does God exist, like
Yeah,
design argument, all that. Is that how you experienced it, or was it more like data debates and all that?
yeah. So that's why I'm saying about the culture. I'm saying about like yeah, just more sociological elements of it. So like the concept of mahram, which is like you know
Yeah, like
who you can marry, or like who you can see without the hijab, or
is that okay?
yeah.
Okay.
So like
Well,
your mom is you
yeah,
know someone that you can see without hijab, or but for example your mate's sister you can't, or like
yeah, I get what you mean. I mean,
you
for
know
me, like that was easier to like even if you hear a complete philosophical for me, like I heard a lot of people like debating about it at school, that non-Muslims, like they're talking about it and they're like asking me like all these like the argument about if if can God make a stone that's so heavy that he can't lift it, and then like that paradox in that,
yeah.
like none of those really, I wasn't really interested in any of that. But like once you hear something that you can apply in your own life and it makes you a better person and makes life easier to get through, I think that's what attracts people more than like heavy debates
Oh
and
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Like the actual personal part of it,
yeah,
rather than looking at all the philosophical. Obviously, that was a battle in itself because you actually have to think: does God exist? Like before I was Muslim, I don't know. I didn't really believe in God. Like I didn't really think like yeah, like there's definitely someone out there. I just thought everything happens by chance, blah blah blah. But also the more that I learned about, for example, like I do marine biology at uni, so the more, for example, I learned about biology at A level, the more it kind of, I don't know, it made sense to me that there was something out there that designed that. There's no way. It's so complicated that there's no way that it could come around by chance.
yeah, I
There
got what you
has
mean.
to be a designer or creator out there. And it was all these kind of thoughts that led me to, just thinking, yeah, there has to be a God. And then from there, the next question is, what religion do you follow? Christianity is calm, but I was brought up kind of as Christian, not really, but like I've been to church and stuff like that, and I just think like it didn't really interest me. It just didn't
Okay.
interest me, and that's part of it as well. It's just, do you actually want to learn about it? And the fact that I do find Islam interesting and I want to learn more about it just shows to me that it's been made interesting by God.
Alright, getting back into it. Sorry for the cut. Had a intrusion. Um, you
Intruder.
you're talking about like you were learning about marine biology and then the complexity of creation, like that whole, like it's mentioned in the Quran quite a lot. Pick out, I can't remember like specific verses, but like
Yeah, yeah,
just generally, you get what I mean? That
yeah,
moved you then.
yeah, 100%. Like
But you started
no,
off not believing in it. Is that what you're saying?
yeah. I started off in life just not really believing in God, but as I started learning more about Islam, it just made more sense to me that there was someone out there, and also just science and just life in general. It just proved to me there's no way that there's not a God, and there's no way that something could make sense so much to me that there's not a God.
Okay, that's nice. That's opposite to how I started. Because from a young age, it was conditioned into me, especially coming from a Muslim country, it's conditioned into me that God exists, and I
Mm,
couldn't imagine living without that belief.
mm,
Like I didn't know much about Islam, but I couldn't imagine living without that belief, because I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, it gives me the excuse. Like, if I didn't believe in God, it gave me the excuse to not like to basically waste my life, not try and do anything, not be a good person. Do you get what I mean? And uh, I couldn't live like that.
yeah,
But I think that was definitely uh, I think like the difference in our stories is like I feel like if I started off as uh conditioned not to believe in God, or not conditioned not to believe in, but like with your pre like what you started off thinking that
yeah,
God didn't believe, I probably wouldn't have changed because I'm that kind of person that like, I'm a little bit stubborn in it.
yeah,
But alhamdulillah, it shows that like Allah kept me in my capacity and like gave me that head start so that I wouldn't struggle.
yeah.
Mashallah, you
That-
free.
yeah, like obviously changing your views and changing your beliefs is it's a process, isn't it? So for you, with your story, you didn't really change your view. Like you kind of had that pre I don't know
I think preconception.
preconception, yeah, that God did exist, and you don't have to struggle with that and get over that because you already
Yeah,
think it does. All you've got to realize is this actually right? Like, is this? That's all you've really got to think. Is this the
yeah,
right way of looking at life? Is it the right way of? Is it how I want to live my life? And it's a good way to live life, isn't it? Because
yeah.
just
Actually, like, why is it? What made you choose Islam more than? I think you mentioned this briefly, but like, what made you choose it over other religions?
mm, just interests me basically, but also just when I look at all the all the concepts and all the ways that it's showed that you should live your life, it just made the most sense to me, and it just kind
Yeah,
of in my head, it was just like, if I live my life in this way, that's gonna make me the best person possible. It's gonna make me kind. It's gonna make me caring because that's what I want to be. I want to be
yeah,
a kind and caring person. And like I would still be that without Islam, but it just gives you a purpose to do that. And also I'm just a very like appreciative person, and I want to be
mashallah.
grateful. And
Yeah,
I just think being appreciative for what you've got is that's a big part of Islam in it. And
yeah. I
just
think
making
that,
dua and praying, and it's
yeah,
that's all just a big part of being appreciative for what you've got. And I'm lucky in it. Might not have the biggest house or the most money or the fanciest cars, but there's people out there that don't even have food. Like the fact that I can just go downstairs to my fridge and just get food just showed me that I should be appreciative towards it.
like it works the other end as well. It's like the people that don't have as much as you, they still know that they're gonna get rewarded for what they're going through. Like,
Exactly, bro.
it gives you a reason to keep struggling.
hmm the way that Islam works, it just means that it's inclusive for everyone. Like everyone can get something out of it. It can help people that are rich because they can be grateful for it, and it can help people be poor because it gives them hope uh, and a reason to
Yeah,
want to struggle and want to follow God.
like you said it's for
All
everyone in it. Yeah, it's all inclusive basically. Like different cultures as well. You can see that there's Islam in Indonesia, there's Islam in like Korea and Japan now, and obviously in the West now with us here.
Mhm.
It's mad, like it's one book, but like it helps so many people.
Mhm. Yeah, word.
Alhamdulillah.
And
And
like it just fits into any culture, innit?
yeah,
Because if
I
obviously
not exactly fits into a culture, but like it
you
it can
can,
accommodate a culture. Yeah,
yeah, it can accommodate culture, 100%. So like, for example, in the UK, where there's I don't know, it's something like 4.7% Muslim or something. That's just off the top of my head. Don't quote me on
yeah,
that. But where the majority of meat, if you go to a restaurant, it's not halal if you go the meat in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Whereas part of being Muslim is that struggle. You know, it's the concept of jihad, which is partly internal struggle, but also an external like struggle in it. It's not really a war as a lot of people might interpret it as, but even the fact that it's harder to, you know, get halal meat rather than just go to the shop and buy non-halal meat. That's a it's a problem that we have to overcome,
Yeah.
and you get reward for that,
Go over,
which is
go over a little bit.
okay.
There you go, there you go.
And that's how it can fit into cultures, and you
I
get
got you, man.
reward for being in the UK, for example, where it's harder to be Muslim. You get reward for
I think like the other thing is like the opposite of that. Every culture has like ways that makes Islam easier.
mm,
So definitely well, compared to South Asia, in the UK people are a lot more polite to strangers. Like that's a British stereotype in it, but that
mm,
definitely helps you be a better Muslim if you start off from that culture. So
yeah,
that's a head start compared to someone from like Bangladesh, where that's not as common. Do you get what I mean?
mm, yeah. So it's not as common to be like, you know, thankful to a stranger or whatever, or like a waitress or
Yeah.
yeah,
But then obviously I'm not bashing South Asian culture. Like there's benefits to that as well.
yeah, yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Uh, I mean, one thing that I wanted to ask was, what changed about you? What do you see? What concrete changes do you see? Like very visible, obvious changes. Like for me, like the biggest change I can see in myself is I stopped swearing, and then I stopped any like I stopped making fun of people. Those are two main things that I saw
Mm,
myself.
yeah. Um, the biggest change that I see in myself, to be honest, like there are changes, and I'll go into that. But something that I also did think about was the way that I lived my life was not already dissimilar to what I needed to do. So
Okay.
the biggest thing probably was stopping eating pork because I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah,
chorizo, all of that, peng. But you can get turkey
that's a
chorizo, bro.
thing.
There's it's tasty to eat, but it's not. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
forbidden.
What about
And
alcohol? I think,
so when I was younger, yeah, when I was younger, I used to drink. Um, like I used to go to parties and that house parties and stuff when I was
yeah,
like 16, 17, even maybe when I was 18 at the start. But I kind of stopped after that. Not just because of Islam. I just chilled out on the drink, innit? And like you don't
yeah,
need it. Like life is it's good without mental like altering your mental state.
yeah. I get what you mean.
Like, so much to enjoy in life, and you just have to look at the good things, and you don't need anything else to change what you think. You don't need anything else to be happy.
That's mad, bro. Like, even though you didn't start off Muslim, you basically lived the right lifestyle that you needed.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
there
just
was
little
obviously
changes in it.
some stuff. There was obviously
Yeah,
some stuff in it, but it wasn't like I was like some bad boy before or something like that. But you know what I'm saying,
nah,
like, um, but yeah, other changes, more, more. I feel as if I can actually vent my appreciation somewhere. So
okay,
beforehand, I would be thankful for stuff, but now I can be thankful to someone because of that. Can actually outlet my appreciation
yeah.
for
It's
what I've
like
got.
it gets counted. It gets like,
Yeah, it gets counted in it.
yeah.
Being grateful, it actually means something.
I get what you mean, man.
I think that's something that actually gave me peace. So just become maybe a bit more chilled out, a bit more relaxed, and in some ways it's bad because you could just be like, yeah, inshallah, like blah blah, God will make it happen, and
Oh
in some ways it
yeah,
might make you lazier. However, it also makes you more relaxed, and you can you obviously have to use your brain, and actually you still have to do stuff in it.
I think that happened to me in like I got into it around A levels. So then like going into all my university interviews and like going into my exams, when I started developing faith, I had that relaxed mindset. It did go overboard a tiny bit, in terms of like I started revising less. Here you go. Sorry. Like
And just saying inshallah in it.
yeah, saying inshallah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But like revi like I did what you said where I started revising a little bit less, but then it wasn't. I kind of picked it back up a little bit.
Yeah.
But it did make it a lot easier. I remember like one specific moment where I really started growing in faith was uh I had Cambridge entrance exams, and then a few days before I was trying to revise, man, that I didn't do as much that I wanted to, and then my mom was like, whatever you do like in the few days before your exam, it won't be as much as what you've done like in the past month. So just spend like today, tomorrow praying and fasting and all that. And I started doing that, and after I took my exam, like I carried on doing that, and then it made interviews a lot easier to cope with. It made my exams a lot easier to cope with. And I
Mm.
obviously I didn't get into Cambridge because I'm hearing it, but like
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, I can appreciate the different opportunity that was given, and like I can take failure with the right mindset. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. That's right. The right mindset for failure is just you know, that wasn't meant for me.
Yeah,
That place isn't meant for me in this. And if I was there, I would be unhappy. It might be the better place, but it's not the better place for you.
yeah,
And there's a reason why you're here, and it might even be unknown to you forever. You might never know why, but it might become apparent to you that you know there's just ways that it's more suited for you.
yeah. I feel the mindset thing, like it shifts your mindset from materialistic things to more of a spiritual focus. So
Yeah,
like even now, I do still have a little bit of regret. Like if I could go into Cambridge, in terms of employability, I would have had a bigger advantage. But maybe I wouldn't have been as connected to the ice hockey at Cambridge, or like maybe I wouldn't have developed in Dean as much as I did in Southampton.
but who knows? Like if you go to an employer in the future, um, and it's like the biggest company for aerospace engineering or whatever,
Yeah,
like the CEO of that could have gone to Southampton rather than Cambridge, and then he could be like, "Oh yeah, Southampton, like out there, you're clearly a clever guy," and
yeah.
it could work in that way. So in terms of employability,
What do you
like
mean, man?
it doesn't matter. That's what Southampton is a place that's meant for you, and that's where you're gonna
Yeah.
live your best life.
Not that you shouldn't aim high, but like don't
And
get
you
what you
wouldn't have
want.
met me if
Of
you were in
course,
Cambridge.
man.
So
One of the best brothers in Southampton, skilled
no
in
way,
Arabic and that. MashaAllah.
no way. But also, yeah, in terms of what you're saying, materialistic and immaterialistic, even just the way I dress, like before, you know, a few years ago, even before any Islam, I used to buy like a bit of designer clothes, bit of
Yeah.
streetwear. I wouldn't call myself a hype beast, but no, I was
But
more shifted towards that
yeah,
kind of things, like Stussy, you know, camo trousers,
yeah.
whatever. But you know, I like to wear more kind of just plain clothes now. There's no point in showing off in it, as long as
Like materialistic wise, like, I was a big nerd in school, innit? So like
yeah,
materialistic wise, for me, it was like I was doing better than all the other, like getting a better grades than everyone else, getting to the best university. But then like I was able to shift that mindset, and then I think if I was still obsessed with that, I probably wouldn't. I probably would have gone to like my grades would have been a lot worse than what I have now. Alhamdulillah, my A level grades are really good, and the reason they were good, I say, is because I was able to kind of fix up my mindset and revise better.
mm,
Do you get what I mean? Like if you
yeah.
focus, if you, I don't know how to say it. If you do it for the sake of Allah, He'll give you more. If you give up something for the sake of Allah, He'll give you more. I feel like that's what happened to me. in terms of academics.
Yeah.
I also want to say, you said like in terms of letting go of material stuff, you said your clothes and that.
Mm.
I think one thing, it also works the other way. Like people forget this quite a lot, but like if you want material stuff and you feel guilty for it, Islam like gives you a way out for that as well. Like as long as you're giving zakat and you're not going into extravagance and excess,
Mm.
then you're still allowed material stuff to an extent, and you'll be
Yeah.
rewarded for it if you're grateful.
Yeah. But that's also, you shouldn't look like trash, innit?
Yeah,
You should
yeah,
dress appropriately and look fine, but you shouldn't be extravagant and
yeah, yeah,
looking just crazy like £1 million jeans and that. You don't need that. You can still look
yeah,
good
yeah.
for not a lot. Do you know what I mean?
Of what you have in it.
Word, bro.
What was the other thing, man? I was gonna ask you. You you touched on this when you're talking about Arabic, right? But
Mm.
you went into Islam by yourself. How did you support yourself?
Yeah. So I knew you're gonna talk about this at some point, but I mean I remember there was a night, and it was probably about October, November, where I was literally like, I want to do this. I want to convert. Like, and I texted my friend up, and he just gassed for me in it. And this was someone from school that I went to, because, like, I was with a different group of friends at school, but I was always like tight with the group of friends that I hang with now more, that are Muslim, most of them, and you know, even Ali But,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I went to the same school as him, and he was part of that group. And I think all of that group just gave me a lot of support, because they were Muslims that I had grown up around and that I could just go to. I had their numbers,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
text them up whenever I want and ask for advice. And that was a good support for me.
Yeah, that's
So,
what about family support?
yeah, my family, I think my parents, obviously, they were just like, what, at first, and
Yeah,
they were just like, why? Like, they weren't ever like no, but they were just confused. Um, like, why why would you make that change? Like, what's
yeah,
the
yeah,
point? And but after a while, they just, and after explaining to them stuff and just talking to them, I think they just kind of realized that it was making me happy, and that's all that they really cared about. But even now, there's still stuff that I have to do on my own. Like, I still have to buy my own meat and stuff
yeah,
like that,
yeah.
because, yeah, but it's
Good chef as well, isn't it? What's
patterned
that
on.
for you?
I like cooking, bro. It's a hobby.
Alhamdulillah, man. That's what that makes a real man, innit? Real man knows how to cook. You'll be
But
giving Arabic lessons, yeah?
when you come back to uni,
Of
come around
course,
for some
man.
lunch, bro.
Uh, I mean, for me it was the opposite in school. Like there was only one other guy. He was my closest friend at school. He was Muslim, but like when I started getting in, he was a lot more religious than me, right? When I started
Mm,
getting into it, like he gave me guidance here and there, but like he by himself couldn't support me fully in it.
mm,
So it was more like I don't know. I think for me, changing was a lot slower than you. Like I just did things step by step. It's like I talked to you about this before we started recording. Like I had to I gave up. We're doing Arabic lessons, right? Like we're on an Arabic course right now
mm,
over the summer, but then I had to let go of that because I saw that my other habits were kind of getting worse, like
mm,
more essential habits. So then I'm used to doing things step by step. So if I'm not reading Quran as much, I want to get into that first. I want to fix that up first, and then move on to learning Arabic for that.
mm.
So like, I think that works better for me. Is there different ways of practicing in it?
Yeah, 100% different ways of ibadah, innit?
Yeah,
Like, different ways of worship. Um, and I agree with that to an extent, but I think also the other way around works. If you learn Arabic, then that'll make it easier for you to read Quran, and
I get
you
what you
know.
mean. Yeah, I get what you
So
mean.
I think both ways are valid, innit? But just
Yeah,
do what you feel is
Yeah,
right.
that's
And
one thing. That's one thing that I really liked about Islam when I started getting into it. Like, I was always shown one way of doing things. Like in Bangladesh, there's always like one image of what a Muslim should be. This big imam who's very popular, and
mm,
like he he gives bare talks and that, and then
mm,
like that's what you have to be. But then when I went to Islam, I was like, there was a story. One thing that really that one story that I really liked was this guy that uh the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I can't remember this exactly. So like obviously read about it later on. The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said to his companions, that man over there will be my neighbor in Jannah. And then they went to that man, like they were watching that man's day-to-day activities, and they were like um he's not praying all night. He's not doing a lot of like worship, like like
mm,
going to the extreme. So they went to him, and then they said, what do you think is is the reason that you're going to be the neighbor of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in Jannah? And then he
mm,
said that every night before he goes to bed, he forgives everyone that's wronged him. And then like little things like that, instead of
mm.
like there's no one image of what makes an ideal Muslim. Like you can be
Yeah, 100%, bro.
you can be a CEO of a company and you're helping develop a community that makes you a good Muslim. You could be like struggling financially and
Mm,
but you're struggling financially and you're sacrificing your own dinner to feed your wife and kids. That's another way of being a good Muslim. You got what
yeah,
I mean?
100%. There's not just one way of being good and being a good Muslim in it. There's bare different ways, and you just have to do what you feel is right and
Yeah,
do what Obviously, nothing haram, whatever, but it's
yeah,
all got to be halal. But you got to do what you think is right and what's appropriate to the situation as well.
yeah. Like tap into what Allah gave you in it. I think one story that I want to mention really quickly is, have you heard of Freshly Grounded podcast?
No,
It's basically a big Muslim podcast. Like the guy who started it, initially he was into drama and like acting and all that. But
yeah,
he said that that industry is very difficult to get into as a Muslim and stay completely halal. You're covering up your camera.
hold on. How do I do it?
There you go. It's
Yes.
fine. It's fine. So like he instead of going into acting, he started a podcast, and then with his podcast, he started like a data act. I think he did like one or two events. I'm not sure exactly, but like he just talks about getting into Islam and all that through drama and podcasting. So like using his strength instead of going into a haram direction where he's put into a corner where like he likes this one thing, but it's very difficult to get into it. He found
Mm,
his own way, like use what he has
mm,
to for the sake of Allah, basically.
mm.
Imagine,
That's good. Alhamdulillah. But yeah, it just shows that no matter what interests you have or who you are as a person, still make it good
yeah,
to the deen and good to the fit the deen.
yeah, and like even I don't know this in detail because I'm not a person of knowledge, but like even the
Mm,
companions of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they had their individual characters.
mm,
So like,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, everyone's got their own personality, and there's no way to be like a personality-less Muslim, like absolutely doing everything perfectly, blah blah blah. You have to do it as you see fit and
yeah.
adapt it to your personality.
That's I want to mention this quickly. That's one trap that I feel like people can get into uh, when growing in Deen by themselves is like
Mm,
seeing one image uh and one image of a Muslim and then trying to fit into that. So like on a different podcast, it was Ira podcast. I remember, Muslim Bilal, Chin,
no,
Ashley Chin.
I think
As
I've heard.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He's basically I don't know I don't want to go into the story too deep because it's gonna take long. But like he's a revert as well, and he's from Ends in it. So when he was giving talks, and then this guy came up to him and he said, "Let me be your manager." And then he said, "I don't need a manager." And then the guy who wanted to be a manager, he was like, "I can make you better by giving you like a thobe and a, what do you call it in English? You know, tupi.
Kufi.
Okay, kufi. Like I can give you a thobe and kufi, and he's like, that's not how I grew up. That's not how I dress usually. So like, why would I put that on when I'm giving a speech?
Mm.
So like that's around what he said, right? Like you don't have to you don't have to fit Arab culture
Yeah,
and live Arab culture to be a Muslim.
yeah, and that's what a lot of people say to me. Like, do you want to change your name? And
Yeah,
like, my parents called me James, and I'm just gonna stick with that. In it, I don't.
yeah, I got what you
It's
mean.
not gonna make me a better person if I suddenly change my name to Jamal. Like,
Yeah, I got what you mean. I got what you mean.
like people might call me that. People might go, "Yeah, Jamal," like
But it's
across
not
the
what you're used
prairie,
to.
and that's calm. That's just a nickname. But
Yeah,
my name is James, innit? And that's it.
I got what you mean. It's like you don't want to change your identity.
That's still who I am.
One more time, bro. Scoot over a little bit. There you go. Come.
My soul in the background.
MashaAllah. Um, I don't know what else there is to touch on. How did you? I was gonna say something. I've forgotten. Um, time-wise, how did you change the way you spent your time in your day?
Mm,
Like before, I used to waste a lot of time on YouTube. I still do waste quite a bit of time, but like I try to refocus it in it.
yeah.
But like,
I mean, I came off social media a lot actually. Like, I deleted my Snapchat, deleted my Instagram. This wasn't when I became Muslim, but I don't know when that was, to be honest. That was like, yeah, actually, you know what? That was after I started thinking about Islam, but that wasn't the reason why.
good.
I just, I just started thinking like, it's giving. That was just general life improvement. I just don't think social media really helps, like in terms of images about yourself. Like, if you look at, there's bare like hench guys on Insta, whatever, gym guys, and you're just like,
Yeah,
rah, like I'm never gonna be that in it. But you don't need to be that. You just need to be who you are.
actually, yeah, I got what you
You don't
mean.
need to be some hench gym guy or some crazy whatever. Do you know what I mean? But Instagram presents people's perfect lives, and life isn't perfect. And I just think it's very like fake.
I get
And
that. So like shifting your mentality on social media.
mm, and also with Snapchat, there was bare people's stories that I have, yeah. And I was just like, I don't need to see what's going on in these people's lives, and they don't need to see what's going on in mine. Like, my life is my life, and you don't need to see what's going on there every single second. So I just delete that too.
Okay, well you deleted Instagram as
I've got
well.
my account, but I don't use it,
Oh,
and
okay,
I don't use my Snapchat. I've actually got another account on Snapchat now, and I've got like 5 people on it. So
okay.
yeah,
I think like for me in terms of social media, I'm still quite attached to Instagram, but like
mm.
I'm trying to get off it slowly and
Yeah. Just the way to do it. Don't do it slowly. Just delete it, bro.
delete it.
Like,
Okay,
yeah, just delete it. That's what I did. I just turned around one day. I was just like, you know what? Deleted, sorted.
that's mad, bro. MashaAllah. Uh,
The way you got to do it, bro.
there was one thing that one specific thing that I wanted to talk about. I can't remember exactly. I think it might have been around oh yeah. How did people react negatively to you changing? Like, I remember,
Uh,
yeah, go on, go on.
yeah, yeah. No, you finish what
I
you're
was just
saying.
gonna say like little things that I saw was that some people would say when doing this like just focus on you don't need to sacrifice anything, just care about yourself in it. And then
Mm.
the other end of it was like people saying you're never gonna make it, like you don't know how to pray, you don't know any of that, you never it's hard to make it in it. So don't bother with that. So like, what kind of opinions did you hear?
I only really support from like my friends and that. Like, no one ever showed any disrespect, or
Man,
so I was quite lucky in that way. Alhamdulillah. Like,
bro.
obviously, I was told that it's a big lifestyle change and it's a big decision to make, but in terms of actually doing it, No one was like, you're never gonna do it. You're never gonna be able to do it, bro. I wouldn't care if anyone said that anyway, because that's what I want to do. So I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah,
Like, no one ever taught me what words to say to pray. Like, I taught myself everything, bro. I taught myself surahs. I taught myself the like, all
yeah. I
the
get what you
all
mean.
the things that
Duas
you
and
got to
all
say.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
mashallah, man, that's good.
tahajjud, like everything, bro.
That's mad.
And like,
Do you think?
that's
Do you think you'd be? Uh, do you think you'd have done better learning from someone else, or do you think the best way for you to learn was to learn by yourself?
the the best thing to do was what I did because that's how it was.
Okay.
Like
Oh
the
yeah, yeah, I get what you mean.
Do you know
Like,
what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
Allah has made it that way, and that is the best way that it was gonna be because that's what happened.
I get what
But
I mean. Yeah.
in terms of ease, I'm quite an independent person anyway, so probably just teaching myself is calm. But at the same time, maybe pronunciation tips from people,
Oh,
or like,
okay.
because even when I learned it, I still knew that I was doing it wrong. As I've gathered more like knowledge and more, you know, for example, the difference between ta and ta, like as I've gained that knowledge, for example, I've altered the way that I say things and I've made it more correct. So it's
Yeah.
still a learning process, but it's just slow little tweaks.
Okay, I get what you mean. Yeah. I feel
But
like,
yeah, maybe at the start, if I'd had help from someone else, yeah, it would have made it easier.
but like you said, it's the best way you could have done it, because that's
Word,
how it was planned.
because that's how I was planning it.
Yeah.
That's it, bro. That's the bottom
Yeah.
line.
I was gonna say like, in terms of teaching yourself, was it easy to find resources? Because when I look online, I see a lot of like dodgy looking websites. Not that
Mm,
like it just it wasn't as easy. Like the best thing that happened to me was that I had a few books from madrasa when like Islamic school when I was younger, so I learned from that. But like learning it in detail online, I didn't find it as easy as I could have.
yeah,
Maybe like at the time I didn't know much about uh the people on YouTube, right? Like free Quran education. They do videos on lectures that different speakers do. But like I'm waffling, but like it was hard for me to find stuff in it that I could trust and learn from.
yeah. All right, sorry for cutting off everyone. My phone just overheated, but I'm back now. So we're talking about websites. So we're talking about um, what good resources to use and stuff like that. So obviously you had books and that, which is that's good. And I've gained that since like people have given me stuff. I've got some books up on my shelf there. But at the start, I would, even just how to pray Salah, like I just typed it in how to pray Salah. You look at a website, and if it looks dodgy and it doesn't look right, don't use it. But if it tells you, if it tells you stuff and gives you proof, so if it gives you hadiths or bits from the Quran, then that's proof. That's verified by God. So it's automatically trustworthy. Like
Yeah,
I used to use this link. I don't know. Can you still see me? Yeah.
I can see
Uh,
you. Yeah, not your screen.
it's called mymasjid.ca, and it's a Canadian website. But it's just how to pray Salah, and it just takes you through step by step, standing, takbir, Fatiha, ruku. Like it takes you through what
Yeah,
to say at all the parts. Takes you through each of the prayers. So like Fajr having 2 rakah, like Dhuhr, all of that. It just
yeah,
takes you
yeah,
through everything, takes you through what to say. And literally to learn to pray, like to learn all the words, it was actually at uni when I started going to uni. I still didn't know how to pray properly. Like I kind of knew all the positions, but I didn't know what you had to say. So I used to pray and I used to have my computer in front of me on this website. And I know it's probably not the best thing to do, but I just I just had it and I stood up and then I used to say say all the words, say what you have to
Yeah.
say. And then I used to scroll to the next bit if I didn't know what I had to say. And then
I get what
I
you
just
mean.
learned it that way, and I just learned over even just a couple of days because you're doing it 5 times a day. You
Becomes
know,
a habit, and you
it
start
becomes a
learning
habit.
about. Yeah.
It ingrains quite quickly into your brain what you have to say.
I think with websites, another thing to mention is like check different ones and then see which is the most
Yeah,
common version, so that you don't fall into some like mistakes in it.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I
But I
think for
think
me, yeah.
no, you say it. Go.
I was gonna say with you said you learned to pray at uni. Like for me as well, like I didn't know you could join a congregation halfway through. I didn't know little things as well.
Well, like ISOC. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like a Jamal, like
yeah. I didn't know you could join halfway through, or like if one person can't do it anymore, like another person replaces the imam. Like
yeah.
little things like that.
That's what you learn in it when you're
Yeah, come to
when
ISOC basically.
when you're surrounded by lots of Muslims. Like ISOC is a very certain thing.
Yeah, alhamdulillah,
Yeah,
man.
very useful, alhamdulillah. And yeah, just yeah.
I get what you mean. There's not. I think should we end it here? Is there anything else you want to mention?
Not that I can think of, bro.
Uh, that's it then. Next episode, you're gonna be joined by Tosh. He's gonna talk about misconceptions of ISOC. So there's a lot of that going around in it. That's it then. Assalamu alaikum everyone.
Assalamu alaikum. Take care.